Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Mirko. Very happy to have you here today. And if you've been enjoying the previous shows, feel free to screenshot and reshare this episode with friends and family. Today is another episode. We're gonna talk with one of the guys who runs such a successful coffee business here in Melbourne. We got Salvatore Malatesta from Centali. So welcome everyone. I'm very glad to have you on. I hope you are super well, who is listening and who is watching. I'm gonna give some shout outs of the people who are joining us live. Appellini Cucina, YN, Amit, Coffee House Bartender, Planet Plurma, Nepal, Le Petit Cappuccino, Cal Magdalena. Hope you're super well. We're going to talk with the owner of Senali and many other things. So stay tuned for a cracking episode. So I really appreciate all of you tuning in. I appreciate all the love and the feedback that you've been sending me via DMs. The YouTube channel is slowly growing, so it means that you appreciate Happiness by Coffee, Bian's Loom, Julia Werner, Glenn. Saying hi to all of you. So look, I know that Salvatore is a very busy man, so he might be a few minutes away. I might send him a quick invite right now, and hopefully he can tune in. Either with his personal or with the Centali handle. So today is going to be a episode pack of good questions. A little bit different than usual. Maybe not super focused on coffee, but definitely worth it in terms of entrepreneurship. Salvatore has created a beast of a brand out of coffee. So very, very looking forward to it. So if you're new here, if you're gonna enjoy this episode, please feel free to screenshot, reshare, retweet this live stream. We're always happy to have new people here. I can see some of you already. Mercury, DZ, Latte Fails, Bianca is in the house. What's up, Bianca? Good to see you. MI76, 76 are my two favorite numbers. Hey, Tani. Tani's in the house too. What's up? What's good? Hope you guys are safe. We're waiting for our guest. He's always busy running many businesses. Nolan is in the building. Good to see you, Nolan. You're a legend. So hopefully he's not too busy, stuck in meetings, and we did have it on the calendar, but I understand that he runs a very, very big operation. So for the people who was tuning in, who don't know much, we are based in Melbourne, and we started this show where we bring coffee professionals from all over the world, not just Australia, and we just talk with them about lots of different topics, from coffee to cafe operations, entrepreneurships, brewing methods, roasting methods. There's a lot of topics. So the previous episodes, we have had a lot of great guests, and you can rewatch them on our YouTube channel. So if you missed out on a few episodes, feel free. Let me say hi to a few people of you tuning in. Elfine, Mahmood, Kedai Copy, Timeless Joe, Kedai, Mother is Jana, and Bianca is right there. Can't wait. So yeah, I can't wait either. Might send him a quick email just in case, as a reminder. And so we'll be for a bit. It's always interesting when it's live streams, of course. But yeah, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to drop them. We'll ask them throughout the show. I have a very big amount of questions myself, and we're looking forward to read them, asking this man lots of opinions around what he's created with Senali. Senali is also in Jakarta, if I say correct. So lots of Indonesian fan base that we got here. So we'll be able to answer many questions. But we are live. Bianca, please smile for us. Here it is. Brew Shark, good to see you. 54V, Just Verso, Tea and Coffee, Taraj, good to see you all. Let me email him live. There we go. And yeah, Rebecca Grace, Ota Ata, good to see you. So if you're tuning in, we're just very patiently waiting for Salvatore, and he's a very busy man, so he might be stuck in a phone call or in a meeting. That's all good, and we just keep going. If you have any questions about me, about what I do, about who I am, about the previous episodes, about the show, feel free to just drop them in the comment box. Not the problem. We are always happy to accommodate, and I hope you got a cup of coffee. And hope you're super well, hope you're safe with the COVID-19 wherever you are in the world. Or maybe you can drop and tell us where you're from. That's always good to know. And we just wait. Here it is, joining straight from the Senali handle. So yeah, guys, be ready. This is gonna be good. We had a little hiccup. Let me save that. Let me see. DC Coffee's in the house too. Good to see you guys. Gur Mirza, stay safe. Gurtesh from Malaysia, good to see you. I'm not sure what happened with the. Here it is. Hey, Timothy is with Barista. What's good, G? Good to see you, man. Fabian, man, good to see you, Fabian. It's been a while. It's been a minute. Let's try to bring Salvatore on. It's always tricky with his live streams. Sometimes, here it is. Let's add him. And let's have a look if we're lucky on this one. Instagram is definitely one of those apps that are very temperamental, and it is what it is. Let's have a look if the connection works. We're waiting, it's spinning. But we also have, oh, okay, Sal just joined with his handle, so we might, here we go. That might be better. Go live. Hey.
Ciao caro, hello.
Ciao carissimo, good to see you.
Sorry I'm a little bit late, huh?
No stress, like I said, you're a busy man. You run a big operation, that's all good.
Wow, okay. So, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
And it's like a carpool, so it's all right. And you're not the first one in the car, so it's okay. We've done a carpool before.
Oh, good, because I'm actually in a car driving at the moment, because I was hoping to be back at the office. Hey, so
as long as you're safe.
Yeah. Well, actually, someone else is driving. Yeah, so no problem.
Okay, I get you. As long as you look at the road, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for hopping on. Lots of people are gonna appreciate this, and including myself, firstly. So it's good to see you. First, I want to ask you if you and your family are all good with this situation and your Senali staff, because obviously it's been a crazy couple of months.
Yeah, so I mean, yeah, we're good. So the family is great, and I've been very, very lucky to have the opportunity actually to hang out with my children. I have 4 of them, so we have year 12, year 10, year 8, and a baby, and they were homeschooled, and I quite enjoyed it. It was quite a fun process. Now 2 of them have gone back to school.
That's good.
And from a business perspective, we got lucky, I think you know. We made some hand sanitizer, so that helped supercharge us into the future a little bit. So that was good.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely great, and yeah, we all have seen and admire your hand sanitizer for sure. So you're considered one of the pioneers of specialty coffee in Melbourne, but for people who don't know, how did you actually start in the coffee? How did your coffee journey start?
Yeah, okay. So my coffee journey started when I was 19. As in terms of, actually, it started before then, because we drank coffee at home all the time, and coffee had a very sort of strong spiritual, cultural connection for me. But I opened my first cafe. That's the way I'm interpreting the question. When I was 19 years old,
Wow.
maybe 20. I was studying arts law at the University in Melbourne, and the offering on campus was very average. So I tendered for a site, and I opened one that was called Caffeine, and that was the start of my career.
Sasha saying, Sal, mate, you might get booked, question mark. So he's laughing.
Sasha, yeah. You know what? I'm about to pull over, so I'm just waiting for the bloody exit. Sasha, shut up. And is this recorded, Mirko? Is this recorded?
Don't worry about it. And like you said, you're not driving, someone else is driving.
Yeah, of course. Someone else is driving, so it's fine.
So from law school to coffee, was that a call for your true passion?
No, look, honestly, I was brought up in hospitality, right? So I was always a hospitality guy. Hospitality was very kind to me in so many ways. I worked 90 hours a week back in the day. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. It was like my life. So, and I love food and beverage, and I was going to drill down into something, whether that was craft cocktails or coffee. Just coffee followed me. I mean, it was the thing I loved the most. So it was really easy. I worked as a lawyer for a couple of years as well. I'm not sure whether some people know that, but I was actually a lawyer for 2 years. But along the way, I kept opening food and beverage venues. The coffee thing, as they say, Sasha, the God shot for me happened maybe 2005. So I've been selling lots of coffees before then, high volume, busy cafes. So I knew how to run a cafe really well. But when I went to visit a farm and for the first time, because back in the day, for those who are in Melbourne, William Anglis College had a coffee academy, and I was a coffee academy teacher. And there'd be 10 people in the room, and I would ask them, where does coffee come from? And I tell you that out of 10 people, no one knew that it was a fruit, right?
Wow.
So like everything we take for granted today, the work that people like Sasha do, the direct trade and single origin, single state, micro lots, mass preparation, all that kind of stuff. That was people didn't even know coffee was a fruit. So I took myself to a farm in 2005. I went to Honduras. Actually, to be honest, I went to Panama first, and then from Panama to Honduras, and I started eating coffee cherries, and they're quite delicious. And the more coffee cherries that I ate from different farms, the more I realized how important the soil and the growing conditions were to the flavor profile.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
That was when I had my moment of, okay, coffee is more than what I thought it was. And up until that point, I mean, I have to be honest with you, it's like an embarrassing admission today, but I'm happy to make it. We used to talk about the crema test. Can the crema hold the sugar? Will it cut through milk? No one actually ever talked about flavor in a cup and single origin and single state. So for me, it was like, it was an epiphanal moment. It's almost embarrassing to say today because all the cool kids know everything about everything. But I'm telling you, back for me then, I really didn't know much.
Yeah, and I think back then there wasn't much. There was a few big Italian named coffee roasters, and then you guys started it all. So I mean, what was your idea behind I guess your biggest projects like Senali and Sensory?
So you know what? You're right. The big Italian guys owned everything, right? And when I used to ask people what coffee they drank, instead of saying, for example, I drink a Kenyan or an Ethiopian or even maybe a cappuccino, long black, so people would say, I drink Lavazza or I drink coffee or I drink Victoria.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but what coffee do you drink? So for me, it seemed like there was this opportunity to almost start a counter revolution, because whenever you've got the big fat cats who own the market, there's always an opportunity to make a lot of noise. So that's really the Sensory Lab in particular, because Sensory Lab, we did, at the time, we were doing food pairing and food tasting. And coffee and food pairing was a big deal back then. And for me, I remember this again, I know because now the audience with people like Sasha, they have amazing coffees. But back then we had the Hacienda Esmeralda from the Petersons, the geisha, and we charged a lot of money per cup. I can't remember now, maybe $25. And that coffee, that story went a little bit viral because I remember being on Triple M with Eddie Maguire. We've since become friends, and he pretty much called me a wanker on air, because and it also became the reason on BuzzFeed I was number one most pretentious thing ever. But I mean, at the time, my frustration was we're doing all this hard work, and so much more effort goes into making this coffee, and we're not charging any extra for it. We've got to make some noise, and so it was deliberate to make some noise, and gosh, it made some noise, so
Yes, we all heard it for sure. Lots of us heard it, and I mean, and that's, I think, the key of success. And obviously, you proving yourself to be a successful entrepreneur. What sort of word of advice would you give to someone who is like getting started? Because like you said, there's always room for the market, and lots of people, I think, are afraid of failure and judgment that comes from it.
Yeah, well, can I hopefully give your listeners one piece of advice, which I've learned for a long time. The craft industry was embarrassed to make money.
Yeah.
And if you made money, somehow you were like not a committed coffee guy. And even today, sometimes people say I'm more a businessman than I am a coffee guy or something like that. But there's no shame in making money. I mean,
absolutely.
You need to make money ethically and properly, but there's no shame in making money. So for me, there's no point being in cottage industry if you can't sustain it, right? So you need to make sure there's enough coming through to keep people employed and keep the lights on. So number one is never be embarrassed. I mean, for a long time, Sonali was very successful. I was embarrassed amongst coffee guys. I would never talk about volume or expansion because it was like we felt like we were bragging or something. But so, and in terms of success, I'm sure everyone, maybe, I don't know if Sasha's still on there, but I'm sure he'll agree with me. When you're young, under 30 maybe, there's no risk. It doesn't matter what happens. So I would say go hard, go early. Because when you have children and take on some other responsibilities, it changes your risk profile.
I could not agree more, and I think that we're in such an industry where lots of cafes unfortunately going underwater because you need to make enough and profit, otherwise you're going to be out of business.
Correct.
It's very simple as that. And look, something that I really love, obviously your coffee, but a pillar, one of the Sonali pillars for me, it's his brand identity and the creativity and the social media and the digital print, which is a big passion of mine. How crucial do you think in this day and age is to invest and implement, the right team and the right strategies around it? Because I think a lot of times coffee shops and coffee businesses underestimate that because of the pride. It's like, I don't want to really invest in social media or marketing, but I think you can promote and push the high quality products and then, charge the right price as well. So,
No, so I mean, yeah, we have a creative studio, right, Mirko? So we have,
I know.
ever since I was like, my first cafe since I was 19, 20, I always had one full-time creative person, and I've had as many as 12, and, and it's always fluctuating depending on the work that we need. And first of all, I love it. So, I mean, that's some of the most joy that I get is being creative. So, I wish I was a creative director and not a CEO, So one day, maybe if I can replace myself as CEO, I'll become creative director. So, but secondly, I think because we have an in-house team, we can generate content and stories so quickly. And we do, as you know, we've got, a full apparel range. We're shooting tomorrow for our new winter season. We can, make an RTD product very quickly. How important it is? Well, I think at the end of the day, we're all a little bit tribal, right? And And so for a lot of people, following Inter Milan or following Roma or following Carlton or following whatever, it's like, to them, it's like a religion. And so if you can create that tribal feeling, which I think Sonali does very well, your customers are your best ambassadors, and they became part of the team, and so they become patched over. So that to me is very important, because there are a lot of people now, especially in Melbourne, who have access to good coffee, who can roast well, who can make great coffee. So that's great. That's the minimum standard now. It's like I said to my good friend Ronaldo Di Stazio, he said to me, if you can't cook, serve people, don't open a restaurant. But how do you make the magic? What's the magic? What's the next step? You know, so how do you go from the basic, which is excellent foods and excellent coffee, to the magic? And I think Sonali, we make magic, I hope. And I always say, if the Rolling Stones were coming to Melbourne for one day, where would they go for coffee? And the idea is they come to us now. So we haven't had the Rolling Stones, but we have had Tarantino, and to me, he's like the Rolling Stones, you know.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah. Even some people, he's even bigger than the Rolling Stones. And I think you're right. Look, I mean, you know, these outlets are also a chance to tell your story, you know, and become that, you know, a trendsetter. And I think it's super important. And a lot of times we demonize technology, but then 10, 15 years later, we all own it, you know. We all, you know, turn our heads to Instagram. Now everybody's on Instagram. We did that with Facebook 15 years ago. The reality is that what better place now? Because, you know, you can spend 30, 50 grand on a ad on a newspaper that might not be seen by as many people as being on a digital platform. And the creativity that goes with it is just so important, especially in such an artsy city like Melbourne. Speaking of which, and then we go on what team you go for, because now now I want to know. Melbourne is considered somewhat the capital of coffee, which is kind of dangerous, because sometimes now I think that we're kind of relaxing and our standard hit a plateau. But what if there was one thing that you could change about Melbourne coffee scene? What would that be?
Well, it's two interesting things there, Mirko. I mean, I think, have we hit a plateau? I think the baseline is just very good, right? So, and that's going to be a challenge for new guys coming to the market, because, you know, everyone's pretty good, right? I think for me, I would change not so much about coffee. I would change an attitude towards about service. And I think the specialty coffee scene sometimes takes itself a little bit seriously and makes it difficult, or makes the customer feel stupid about what they do or don't order. So, for example, if a customer wants to drink almond milk, give them almond milk. Right? If a customer wants to learn more about single origin, single state coffee, make it easy for them. Make it easy for them to understand. There's no point putting together a coffee menu and not explaining it to them. So, I mean, I know we've been guilty of that in the past as well. I mean, we you know, baristas tend to gravitate towards black drinkers and filter drinkers. And so anyone that drinks a latte with 3 sugars, there's a little bit of snobbery. But it's our responsibility to get people drinking better coffee, and in that process we need to make it easy for people to understand. I'll tell you something, for example, when I talk to young kids, and by young kids I mean 19, 20, and then I talk to kids who are like 30, 35, and then people are like 40, 45. So in between say maybe 25 and 45, if you're into coffee, everyone knows who we are, right, in Melbourne. But when I talk to young kids, like my daughter's age, 17, 18, 19, they don't even know what specialty coffee means. They don't remember the third wave movement. Maybe they don't even drink coffee. So we need to keep educating. That's our focus. And we need to do that through service. That's like old school hospitality, not snobbery.
100%, and it's something that it kept coming back during these episodes that we've been running. You know, we've been putting so much focus in the cup, in the jug, in the machinery, and we forgot that it's a people business. And when I used to train my staff at the cafes, sometimes on trials, I would let them literally pretend to say good morning to me when I would walk the door, pretending to be a customer. And they thought it was silly, but it wasn't. I think that it starts from there. And especially now after the pandemic, people have missed that social element. So more than ever now, to be warmer and connect, it's what we need. Like roasters are connecting with farmers and vice versa, baristas needs to convert, connect. Now, reaching kind of the halfway mark, usually have an out of the box question, and I love this one. If you could choose anyone, who would you like to have dinner with?
Sasha. No, probably, I reckon it would be quite interesting, and might sound a little bit cliche, but I think it'd be quite interesting, especially post-presidency, to hang out with Barack Obama.
Okay. Yeah.
That would be quite an interesting conversation. But if I was going to be less cliche than that, who would I want to have dinner with? Maybe Uma Thurman.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. I like it. I'm making a list, so maybe one day I'll make it happen. All right, cool. I think that's amazing. We all appreciate what you've done for the market. I think that what you guys have been doing consistently, it's just really standing out from many places of the world. Lots of people know about you, like you said. What would you say to people who are actually chasing their coffee dream or their passion, but they're stuck in a good job? I think it's kind of connected to what we talked about a little bit earlier, but there is such a thing about, we're both from Italy. I'm not sure about, your family, but in a lot of countries, there is this philosophy of getting a good job and stick with it, but they're not necessarily happy. And they might be chasing the coffee dream. What would you say it's a good way to kind of get moving?
So, as you know, Mirko, I have 4 children. I give them the same advice, right? So this is the same advice. I think I'm really enamored and in love with people passionate and committed to anything, really. So if you're a professional runner, professional musician, if you're a doctor, a poet, so long as you've got to follow your heart and you've got to commit, mind, heart, and body, and do stuff that you're passionate and love. And I wouldn't worry about anything else, except to say, this is a bit why I say, make sure though you get paid for your services, because there is a payday where you need to, pay bills and whatever your lifestyle demands. So, unfortunately, money always comes into it, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't focus on careers that aren't really not very profitable. Like, I think hospitality is going to be the toughest business in the world. And running a hospitality business, whether it's a cafe or a restaurant, especially in this environment, as you know, is really tough. But I could have applied my skill set to a different industry. I just love it. I love it so much. I love it more than being a lawyer. I was a lawyer for 2 years. That would have been a pretty easy ticket to, do okay for a while without doing very much, but it wasn't for me.
Correct. And I think also there's always the element of downsizing, downgrading. I think that, you can start living in a less bigger place, if you need to, by following your passion. I think that a lot of people underestimate the elements of moving back in with your parents, or do what you got to do in order to actually get that dream going. And I think in coffee, there are many places that you can be in. And because you touched base, we are facing this obviously awful global pandemics that impacted lots of people and businesses, like you said. I still think it's crucial, but how crucial you think is constant innovation within any organizations? We've seen you with the hand sanitizer, and we've seen a few other people in the industry starting new things and trends. But also even prior to the pandemic, but more than anything, now it's even more important than ever, innovation.
Yeah. So, I don't want to depress your listeners, but you're only as good as last week, huh? There's always someone smarter, faster, more handsome around the corner. So this is the thing about business. If you're even in the cottage industry, if you're in business, you're in business, and there's always someone trying to take number one position or number two or number three. So you've got to constantly innovate. You've got to, and at Sanali, I always say to my guys, we're only as good as last week. We've got to live like every week's got to get better. So we spend a bit of time in innovation. I'm in a partnership with Matt Perger and Barista Hustle. Barista Hustle is a great business for us. It took 3 years to get there, but now it's got a nice, international forum network. It generates good money. I'm invested in a tea business called Kura, Kwra.
Okay.
It's a tea business that focuses on aged Chinese tea with a guy called Aiden. We're shareholders in SUP, which is the technology used for. So we get involved wherever we can, lots of different things, and because that's our attitude and our DNA, we can be nimble and quick when we need to. So in January 3rd or 5th, we were putting together a bottling plant for the hand sanitizer. So by the time Corona hit our shores, we were ready to go, and that's how I approach business. And so, Sanali is going to reopen on the 1st of June, and it's going to reopen being very different. And some of the things we've learned from this COVID pandemic are going to form part of our retail offering forever. That manifests into an online presence as well. So our e-commerce platform for us, has quintupled over the last 3 months.
Yeah, and I it's something that I talk to my customers too, because I quit my job last year, and with my customers, I look after their digital presence and social media and marketing, and something that I've been having conversation with them is the next 18 to 36 months are going to be really crucial to have a strong e-commerce game. And what I mean by that is, get as creative as you want, whether it's a coffee spread with your own label on it, whether it's a cartoon version of the faces of the founders into a pin or whatever it is, just create and just go online, because people are now, consumer behavior is changing. The introverted person who didn't like to go to the gym because he's too insecure about the mirrors and doesn't want to be around people, now know they can go on a Zoom 101 in the comfort of their home to do a workout. The guy who doesn't like the crowd and the noise know they can have a beautiful Ethiopian coffee at home with a free tutorial made by, Brew Theory or someone else online. So I think the e-commerce game is going to be stronger, more important than ever in the next 18 to 36 months. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, for sure. And here forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think, the Zoom and the Skype and everything was already there, was always there. We're kind of waking up now, which is interesting. It was always there, but now it's like it exploded. And I think now we need to, grab onto it and take advantage of these technologies. Which brings me to, what do you think? I'm really curious about having this conversation with you. It's going to help me as well as the people going to rewatch this. What do you think, in your words, are the key elements or one of the key elements to scale a business?
I think what I've learned, there's two approaches to this, right? So getting foundations 100% deep and solid allows you the flexibility to navigate scenarios like the pandemic. So I like the idea of strong foundations, and I like the idea of not having much exposure to leverage. So as a company, we don't borrow money. And therefore, when the COVID-19 happens or the GFC, we're not sitting up awake at night trying to work out how to meet repayments. However, that said, when you're young and you have nothing to lose, which is why I say just go hard, there is nothing to lose. Sometimes just going, ankle deep isn't enough. You need to go deep, deep, deep. And you do, in a sense, risk your entire bundle of chips every time. And that's my approach, because you get that little window when you're young, and then when you get old, that window becomes harder and harder because you have a whole bunch of dependents who need for things to, not fall over.
Yes, and I think often people want to win at the first shot, but it often doesn't happen. And I think it's important to have a good relationship with losing. You know, I know it's going to sound dark, but you need to be comfortable at losing in order to win.
Yeah, you know, Mirko, I feel like you're reading my mind. What I say all the time is, this: the rejection, you need to accept and embrace. So, you know, recently I've been watching. I don't know if anyone's watched The Last Dance.
I have.
And I've cried every episode, right? Because now I know Mike Jordan's production company owns it, so it was perhaps a skewed view, but that kind of commitment to winning and winning and winning and winning and training and trying is, to me, so sexy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it's like how I like to live my life, whatever it is that I'm doing. I want to do the best that I can, and it, you know, it's not even about the winning, like, you know, or the reward. It's just about the feeling you get from me. So I love it.
Yeah, I think people, it's a bit dark, but I think a lot of people, unfortunately, they want to win. They have a very conflicted relationship with winning, dependency created by entitlement. I deserve to win.
I'm not saying that.
No, I'm saying that. I am saying it. I'm saying,
but maybe
you know, like,
right.
I think that there's a little bit of that. And look, I watched Last Dance, and yeah, it was really inspiring. I think that probably he would be a person that would be interesting to have dinner with too. And I think the commitment and turning your passion into your fixation, as long as the hustle, because also, you know, you got the flip side, you got the hustle mode mentality, which is also can be unhealthy. And we go to the next question, which is like, you know, there's this theory, you know, you're going to burn out yourself, which I don't think so. I think that you can still have your 6-7 hours sleep. It's about what you do when you're awake, you know, but unless you got a lot on your plate, which is like, when you got so much on your plate like yourself, Salvatore, how do you manage your work-life balance as a family man like yourself?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, that's a tough question, right? Because my family are by default business partners. So our family dinner table is business talk. Our family holidays is business talk. Our walks around the Botanic Gardens is talk about food and beverage. So, you know, and my wife is very much very much the business. It's where the personality is our life. There's no like 9 to 5 and then talk about something else. That's all we talk about, you know. And so that's maybe not for everyone, but it's how I think you need to run the show if you want to be successful.
I still think, but I think there's you know, even the walk at the Botanical Gardens has a good outlet. You know, you might talk about Senali, which is fantastic, but still you're kind of balancing with self-soothing quality time with your family. I think it's fantastic still.
Yes, I mean, I'll tell you, one thing we do as a family up until coronavirus is we travel every school holidays, right? So, yeah. And what I'll do on the school, if I'm traveling and we're in a different time zone, I'll do my work when the kids are asleep. But every 8 weeks we spend, you know, 2 or 3 weeks, whatever school holidays are, together as a family. But I mean, I'm not going to apologize for the fact that, you know, Senali is my life and I love it and I'm, you know, committed to it. And that's just how it is. That's the same like friends. If I'm out for dinner with my best friend and the phone rings, I take the call.
Yeah, of course. And well, that's like the ball game for Michael Jordan, you know, like basketball was his life. I think it's super cool. And I think it's very inspiring for the people who are going to rewatch this. And, you know, I have so many people who they want that, but they don't have that. I think you got to learn to love the dirt. You got to need to learn to love the game. Like for me, one of my passionate people, I love the pavement, you know, I love the streets. But I had to learn the last couple of months that I need to start loving staying home during a pandemic a little bit more, and that's okay. I think it's still relevant, you know, to be able to learn other situations and scenarios.
I just noticed my good friend Lola Berry just came on. I just want to shout out and say hi to her.
Shout out. Thanks for tuning in. Loved eyes. Yeah, we all watching Salvatore with those eyes at the moment, especially for the things he's been saying to us very kindly. Salvatore, you cover the whole spectrum of coffee. Could you pinpoint a couple of memorable moments throughout the journey of yours?
Yeah, of course. Well, I think I covered one with the farm experience. That was very much my epiphanal moment. But I think being able to watch customers go on a coffee journey with you and be transported in a spiritual sense to some other destination, or in a flavor sense, and going along with them in that journey and understanding that the power of the coffee plant and given a proper voice. I've had plenty of those moments where I sit around and have a cup of coffee and I get transported. But I think that the thing for me, and I'm forever grateful for this, NLE has been like a AAA pass to life, in the same ways that, if you've got a AAA pass at a Coachella festival or Burning Man. I have met some incredible people who have gravitated towards me because of Sanali, and one of them came to my wedding and became a best friend, and he was the Shiga Qatar, who was a coffee enthusiast who reached out to us for some training sessions. We had no idea who he was, and he didn't tell us who he was, and we ran a master class for him at night time, and then we got to know each other and became good friends. And there are so many sort of AAA access to life like that have been presented to me because of a common shared interest in coffee. So coffee is like, in a way, an equalizer. It's an affordable luxury, and whether you're the Shiga Qatar or Tarantino or Salvatore or Mirko, you drink coffee and you can talk about coffee. So coffee's good. It's a good drug. It's a psychoactive drug that's legal, right? Like, it makes you happy.
Let me throw in the mix. Coffee feels good.
Coffee feels good and keeps you wide awake.
I think I could throw in that feels good. I was waiting the whole interview to find the right moment. And for people who knows. Yeah, I agree. And I think we've forgotten that. We lost that connection a little. But I think we're getting back to it after this pandemic. I really feel positive about it. Talking to a lot of professionals, we're gonna be the strength of this community. It feels like a family, and I think coffee really is a big part of the world in many ways. So for sure, thank you for sharing that. By the way,
so let me tell you that when I early days when I was traveling and I would land anywhere, right? And on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, I'd say, "Hi, I'm in Chicago. If anybody wants to catch up," right? And people would DM me and say, "Can I pick you up from the airport? Stay at my place. Let me take you out for dinner." Because the specialty coffee community back then was very small. And even now, it's pretty small, really, in the scheme of things.
Super.
And coffee friends are like surfing friends. They're people that understand. Hey, Lachlan Ward's jumped online. Hey, Lockie, how you doing? People understand, and you have a common shared interest. So for me, I've made so many friends globally. Like, I got to tell you that Lama Zorko, and shout out to them, and Guido and Chris, they're guys who I eat with regularly. They're like brothers, and they're not suppliers. Happen to supply us machines, but they're not really suppliers. So some strong friendships are made out of coffee.
100%, and we go back to the sentence, we are in the people business, first and foremost, for sure. And if you could, what advice would you give to yourself when you first started your businesses and your career?
What was that last question again? Sorry.
What advice would you give to yourself when you first started any business back then, when you were 19? If you could talk to yourself, your 19-year-old self, and why you think of the answer. Big shout out to Nolan. Thanks for being here, bro. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon, man. Yeah, sorry.
I think maybe, you know, I probably could have slowed down a little bit, just a little bit. And I think I had a lot of demons to deal with for a while, around anxiety about, you know, whether it'd work or what people thought or whatever. I think just back yourself and do what you want to do and block out the white noise.
Yes,
I dealt with white noise and anxiety for a long time.
I love it, and thanks for sharing that. I think, like I said, there's a lot of fear of what people think of us. There's a lot of stuff out there, and you just gotta leave it out there. And yeah, I think a lot of people can relate to that, myself included, 100%. Cool. And that can come from strangers, family, if cultural, religious. There's so many elements, you know, to the story for sure. So I'm sure that plenty will relate to that. So would you actually ever, unless you already have, and I have never heard of it, because it could be, because I could be wrong too, would you ever write a book? And I think there's lots of people that are waiting for one, if you haven't already.
You know, so I got off, thank you for asking that question. I got offered a book deal and a film deal maybe 7 years ago or something like that. And at the time I remember thinking, I don't have enough to say yet. You know, like it's been fun, but I don't feel like I'm ready for that kind of thing yet. But as I'm getting older, I've got some pretty good stories, and I've got some pretty good insider stories into what's happened around the world, including our own experiences in London, where maybe a book might be worthwhile. So I have been formulating an idea for a book, but I don't know that and maybe let me put it out to your listeners, what would you want to hear in that book? Because, you know, I can tell the specialty story, but that's been told by a lot of good people, like Sasha. I could tell, you know, I could write a blueprint for a successful cafe, but I'm not sure that's exactly where I want to go. I mean, I've sort of got this idea of a book, which is the people that I've met through coffee. And so a chapter on each. And through those people, the people that I've met, telling the coffee story from my eyes and the relationships that I've made. But I mean, if anyone's got any ideas, let me know. I mean, anybody? You
can turn it into a Rocky series, you know, and have a volume 1, volume 2, volume 3. I think lots of people would want to hear all the ideas that you just shared. You know, I think you know that it's endless, like you said. A blueprint for a cafe. Many people would find that valuable, as well as a book about people. But I'm sure there's a book about stories, unheard stories that you could unleash and, you know, make a few people laugh and smile. So I think there's a lot there.
I'll tell you something. We, maybe 7 years ago, we were the official partner for the Big Day Out. And the headline act was the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And when I was growing up, they were like one of my favorite bands. And we toured with the Big Day Out nationally. So I got to watch them side stage, backstage, front of house, mosh pit. And I got to meet Flea and Anthony every morning. And I can tell you some stories that happened backstage, for example, that have nothing to do with coffee or nothing to do with, but the stories are pretty cool. And that's what I'm saying to you. I mean, I feel so grateful that the life I've had is through coffee.
100%. And I think now you should start writing a chapter on your book on that, because I think many people want to know some of those ones now. And I feel that we've went the journey within the past 50 minutes is really insightful. And I'm really glad we had this conversation, because each guest has brought different type of values throughout these episodes, where it was brewing techniques or different things. And everyone has their story. So I'm very glad and grateful for what you've been sharing with us, your knowledge, your experiences. What would you say you know, it would be something that you would like to see in coffee moving forward? What would you say, okay, this is what I really want to see?
Two things. I'd like to see the committed coffee industry coming together more as friends. It used to be that way in the beginning. There was 7 or 8 of us, and we used to share ideas, and we used to hang out together quite often. I feel like it's become very commercial and competitive, and I think the specialty coffee guys should be competing against the big guys, because really, in the scheme of coffee sales, we're still very much nothing. I mean, the world's owned by Keurig and Nestle and Lavazza.
Yeah.
So that I'd like to see on a personal level. That would make me very happy. But what I would like to see, and it's happening, is whilst we further methods of harvesting, brewing coffee, and processing techniques and all the cool stuff that the guys do, that's great. But what I still really want to see is a commitment from everyone in coffee to sharing the coffee love. And what I mean by that is, it's still important for me, for people that are still drinking terrible coffee, to drink good coffee. And there's a lot of those people still. And so again, I want to echo what I said before. I want great coffee to be drunk by the masses, not just by the privileged few. And in that process, hoping that when you've got some mass volume and masses behind the idea, to spread the love down the supply down to the farmers, because I even want to change the name from value chain to something like value relationship, because our farmers aren't part of the chain. In a way, we're the custodians of the work they do, and we take care of what they do, and they're real people. And all the talking, we've been talking, Specialty Coffee's been talking for 25 years about direct trade helping farmers. And it helps some farmers, and when it goes well, it helps them a lot. But there's still a lot of help that it needs, and a lot of farmers are still growing coffee at below cost of production. So unfortunately, that's one of the sad points about the coffee industry. There's still a lot of shit consequences that happen.
100%, and word, honestly, thanks for that. 100%. Now, Instagram is a cutthroat platform. They usually give 30 seconds, so I usually say the final things before that happens. So Salvatore, very honored and humbled for you to hop on. Honestly, I feel super grateful for you and I had this moment, and I hope that we can catch up as soon after June 1st, of course, for a good cup of coffee together, because I think that's the best thing to do, as you said. And thank you so much for hopping on. I think lots of people will find this valuable in the coming days and weeks to rewatch it. And really, I feel honored. And my motto is that if I can add value to one person, I'm winning. And in this case, you're already adding value to me. So, and Bianca is our baby fan here. She's 16 and she's aiming to be the first and youngest female Indonesian barista champion. So she always watches us. So I really appreciate you, Bianca. So yeah, thank you again, Salvatore. And I'm going to reach out to you to catch up for cafe. But this is, the next final few minutes. Is there anything you left off the table? And I usually close asking, what's next on Salvatore's planet?
Okay, so I've been waiting really for my children to grow up, and so I can do. I want to realize my idea for Sonali to be in 7 cities around the world, and we opened in London in 2010. I don't know if you remember that, but that was a big deal, and so I really want to. That's my thing. I want to do that, and the other thing that I really want to do is, I own a lot of land around St. Ali in South Melbourne, and I want to build a hotel called St. Ali House and be the world's first dedicated sort of hotel space to, cottage, craft, coffee, distillery, in one spot. And that's going to happen. It's just, whether it happens now or whether it happens in 5 years. But they're my two big ideas.
Fantastic, honestly. I love them both. And obviously the first one has, it's gorgeous to hear. And we go back on really be driven by the people that we love and the people who surround us and inspire us. And it is even the young ones, and especially for you, your children. Yeah, thank you, Sal. What team do you go for? Because I still haven't forgotten to ask you.
You mean football?
Yeah, because you started talking before, if you're passionate about this or that. I'm like, oh, hang on a minute. What team does he go for?
Well, I mean, Collingwood.
Oh no, I meant in Serie A.
Oh, in Serie A. Okay, I was going to say. I've never been asked an AFL question before. In Serie A, that's a good question. I used to be tifoso for Inter Milan.
Oh, bravo, mi piace.
So I mean, but I've stopped watching. But that's what I used to do.
There you go. Now we got one more thing in common. Fantastic. That's the right answer. Salvatore, thank you. Grazie. Thanks for giving this precious hour, even though you're in a car. That's a true hustler picture right now. I really appreciate it.
As a passenger, though, as a passenger, yeah. Okay.
No, you're the passenger, of course, but I really appreciate, honestly. Thank you. I'll say grazie again because I think we know what that means. Take care, stay safe, and I really hope to see you soon in South Melbourne or wherever you are.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bianca. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye.
There you have it, guys. I have had, amazing moment. I feel very grateful to have been able to have this conversation with such a pioneer and incredibly successful coffee man, entrepreneur, and family man. So lots of people in Indonesia and around the world and in Australia know Senali is. This is the face behind it, the guy who runs it and the ideas. And it's just incredible how lucky I was to be able to share this. And like I said, I hope that brought value to you, Bianca, or any guys watching or who's going to rewatch later. I think there was a lot of good content. This interview was slightly different than the usual ones, but I think that it's important to have these elements in our episodes to touch on different topics in order to really dig into every single aspect, of what we do in coffee. It's not just the brewing. And for Mercury, our first on this, and we love it, can't wait to see more. You can rewatch the other episodes on YouTube. We had amazing guests. We had Scott Rao, Tim Wendelbo, Sasha Sestik, and plenty more. And every one of them are very valuable to watch, and they're all on YouTube. We release them every 2-3 days based on the recordings. And so greetings from Rwanda, greetings from Australia, Green Hill. You made my day, Bianca. You're a legend. You have such a good attitude. Like Salvatore said, he would give himself the advice to don't listen to the noise, and you got such a good attitude on that, Bianca. So you got this. I know that soon the clock is going to start and say it's time to go, and that's the way Instagram is designed. I really appreciate each and every one of you who tuned in, who will tune in, who will rewatch, who is listening now on the podcast, who is watching now on YouTube. I really appreciate you to be here, and I hope to see you tomorrow. We got Nolan Yerte. He's the founder and owner of Proud Mary Coffee, so it's another Melbourne institution. So, and Nolan, I will send you my fine from today. Nolan, you're a legend. Thanks for being here, Nolan. I really appreciate you, man. It was good to see you today too, honestly. It's been a good day. I've been surrounded by people that I've been always looking up to. One was this morning, and the one was this evening. So I feel very blessed, lucky, and grateful. I know I need a haircut. It's been booked in, so don't worry. And 28 seconds to go. All I can do is send in you love. And Mercury, just reach out to me. on a DM, it's the best because I'm still working out the schedule. Thank you. But I'm closing in 10 seconds. Thank you for being here. I love each and one of you. Very grateful. Thanks for sharing. And if you want to reshare this, please go ahead and stay safe, guys.